Multiplying and dividing numbers in scientific notation. So let's do a quick review because this keeps coming back to us each time when we have to adjust numbers in from standard form to scientific notation, or if they're already in scientific notation and we need to fix them a little bit. So let's just do a quick little review. A 10, okay, that's 10 to the first. Then 100 is 10 to the second. Or 1,000 is 10 to the third. Okay, we could go up further and we could say 10,000, 10 to the fourth. And then let's go back the other way where we could say a tenth, that T-E-N-T-H is 10 to the negative 1. Or 100th, that's 10 to the negative 2. Or 1,000th, 10 to the negative 3. Or a 10,000th, 10 to the negative 4. All right, and let's put those equivalents underneath them. So 10 to the first is just 10. 10 squared, 100. 10 to the third, 1,000. 10 to the fourth, 10,000. 1/10, that's 1 over 10, or you could say, let's put that in decimal form probably. That's probably the best thing. Okay, a tenth, 0.1, 100th, 0.01, 1,000th, 0.001, 1/10,000th, 0.0001, tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000ths. Okay, so that always seems to come back to us. All right, so now this one says, it says rewrite each of the following examples as a product of examples as a product of a coefficient and 10 to the third. So when I take this first one, so 3.7, our coefficient is good because this number in front of the decimal needs to be less than 10, somewhere between 1 and 10, which it is. So now I need to think about this 10 to the fifth power. Okay, 10 to the fifth power, but if we need to incorporate that 10 to the third, we would say, okay, 10 to the third, and then times 10 to what power, if I added these two, 3 plus what, gives me 5, and that would be 10 to the second power. Okay, so let's take that a step further. So if I said this 3.7 and 10 to the second, that's 100. 10 to the second is 100. So right now this is, we need to multiply this 3.7, okay, or 3 and 7/10 times 100. So instead of 3, okay, 3 ones, I need 300. So it's going to be 370 times 10 to the third. Okay? Let's do the next one. So 4.1 times 10 to the negative 2. But we've got to incorporate it. We've got to take the coefficient and show it as a product of 10 to the third times what? But we can't change the value of it. We're just writing it a different way. So 3 plus what exponent would give me 2? And that's a negative 1 because 3 plus a negative 1 is 2. So now this right here, okay, that's a tenth, just like we put up at the top here, a tenth. Well, right now we have 4 ones, but we need to make that 4 tenths. So we would say 0.41 times 10 to the third. Okay, we will continue to practice that in class to make sure, and we'll do lots more of those to gain a really good understanding. So let's talk about some steps that we're going to need when we are multiplying numbers in scientific notation. So we are going to multiply the coefficients. We are going to, when we multiply, what do we do with exponents? We are going to add the exponents. And then we may need to adjust the result to scientific notation. Okay, we'll have to examine it and see if we need to adjust anything. So then what do we do over here when we divide numbers in scientific notation? Well, we have to do the same thing. Okay, so what do we do with the coefficients? We're going to divide the coefficients, and when we divide, what do we do with the exponents? We are going to subtract, and then we may need to, again, adjust the result to scientific notation. So questions 3 and 4 are multiplication questions. So let's do exactly what those steps say. So we're going to multiply the coefficients. So we have 43 and 7. So everything here is multiplied. We have 43 times 10 to the 9th times 7 times 10 to the 4th. So I can change the order because isn't 5 times 2 the same as 2 times 5? Well, it sure is. So I'm going to rearrange this, and I'm going to put the coefficients together. I'm going to say 4 times 7, or excuse me, 43 times 7 times, and now let's put the powers of 10 together. 10 to the 9th times 10 to the 4th. So we could go to our calculator, and we can multiply 43 by 7, and you should get 301 times. Now, 10 to the 9th times 10 to the 4th, like bases, what do we do with those exponents? And we would say, well, that is 10 to the 13th. So we just did step 1 and 2. We multiplied the coefficients. We added the exponents for the powers of 10. Now, do we need to adjust the result? So when I look at my result, I have this 301. But remember, our coefficient has to be a number between 1 and 10. So where's my decimal point going to go? It's going to go here. So right now, what did I say? That was 300. So go back up to the top. What is 100? It's 10 to the second. So we would have to multiply that 3 by 100, okay, which is really 10 to the second power, right? So I just wanted to write that out, but I'm going to take that out of there, and I'm going to put in what is 100 with an exponent, and you know it's 10 to the second. So now we have our coefficient where we need it to be, 3.01 times 10. Go ahead, add your exponents, 10 to the 15th. And there's our final answer for that one. So let's do the same thing with this one. We've got all multiplication here when I examine this problem. So now let's put the coefficients next to each other because we have to multiply the coefficients. And then when we multiply the powers of 10, we need to remember that we add the exponents. So 5.1 times 2.5, let's go right to your calculator and multiply 5.1 times 2.5 in your calculator. And you should get 12.75 times 10, add your exponents, negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5. Again, we may need to, we've done the first two steps now, we need to examine that coefficient and we need to adjust our final answer. So where does the decimal go? It's got to go in between the 1 and the 2 because this number has to be between 1 and 10. Keep telling yourself that. So right now that 1 is in the tens place, the tens place. So look at back up at the top of the page. What is 10? 10 is 10 to the first. Okay, so in order for us to adjust where that decimal is, we're multiplying by 10 to the first times that 10 to the negative 5. Now our coefficient is finally set times Add those exponents, 10 to the negative 4. Okay, and we will continue to practice this multiplying. Now let's do some dividing. Okay, but we're doing the same thing. Now we just have to go back and examine our steps up here. Now we have to divide the coefficients, and therefore we must subtract the exponents for the powers of 10. And then the last step is still the same. We need to adjust anything if it's not in correct scientific notation. Okay? So when we look at number 5, I have 230 times 10 to the 8th divided by 5 times 10 to the negative 4. So I'm going to split that up. So 230 divided by 5, those are my coefficients, times 10 to the 8th divided by 10 to the negative 4. I just made them coefficient divided by coefficient, powers of 10 divided by powers of 10. And let's go to your calculator. Divide that coefficient. 230 divided by 5 should get you 46 times 10. What do we do with these exponents? We said we have to subtract, but be super careful because it's 8 minus a minus 4. So we have 46 times 10. What happens here? Minus a minus, it becomes a plus. 8 plus 4 is 12. But look at that coefficient. Do we need to adjust? 46. 46 is not between 1 and 10. So where do I place my decimal? Right there. Well, what was that 4? That was a 10. A 10. So what is a 10? With an exponent. A 10 with an exponent is 10 to the first power. So times 10 to the first, and then don't forget what we had there before, times 10 to the 12th, and now let's simplify. So we have 4.6 times 10. Add your exponents to the 13th power. There's our final answer, adjusted in scientific notation. We have one more, number 6. Okay, and number 6, let's do the same thing. Let's separate that fraction. So we're dividing coefficients, and then we're dividing powers of 10. And I want you to go to your calculator right now, and I want you to divide 3.75 divided by 5.2. Even if you don't have a calculator at home, I'm sure maybe you have one on your phone, or just a quick little 4-function calculator. You can do that division, okay? And you end up with 0.721154. Wow. Times 10. 9 minus 2 is 7. But let's see if we need to adjust. When I look at my coefficient, it's not in scientific notation form, so I need to put 7.21154. So I've adjusted. But what place is that 7 in? It's in the 10th spot. So let's go back up and look what the 10th spot is. There's the 10th right there. The 10th is 10 to the negative 1. So that's exactly what we're going to put there. So times 10 to the negative 1. That allowed us to move that decimal. Times that 10 to the 7th that's already there. So our coefficient is set. Times 10. Add your exponents. Negative 1 plus 7 is 6. There's your final answer in proper scientific notation. Like I said, we're going to keep practicing this in class. Okay? Pause the video, go back, look at things that you're not familiar with. Whatever you need to do to be that active listener when you are taking the notes at night for homework. See you tomorrow in class.